Nico was just unstoppable against Unique Drake tonight. What did you see? Where do you see her growth on the defensive end?
Well, generally speaking, we don't. We probably don't end up with one player guarding one player on the other team. You know, most of our defensive stuff involves a lot of switches that, you know, so a lot of people end up guarding. But today, Nika said, I want to guard her. I mean, obviously she's a really good player and really hard to guard. And Nika said, I want to guard her. She said, no switching, no nothing, I'm guarding the kid. And she just did what Nika does, you know. And she was really smart about it. I don't think she committed one foul, you know, maybe one, I don't know. But I thought she did everything right, made every right move, made every right decision. And that was, you know, obviously that was a big difference defensively for us because, you know, it's tough for St. John's to score enough points without their best player, you know, getting involved.
Geno, you've seen St. John's over the years, last year to this year now, for Joe to replace all he lost last season in the portal and bring in almost an entirely new team, with the exception of Drayton Archer, and do it on a 7-man rotation. What can you say about the job he's done this year?
Well, there's so many challenges now to coaching, and one of them is you sometimes have to start over. It used to be every 4 years you would start over. Now it's every 6 months you start over, right? You know, it's not easy to replace your almost, you know, your entire team. And I always think as you know, when we play in our league, they're probably one of the toughest matchups for everybody in the league because they're really sophisticated in a lot of the offensive stuff that they do. I think Joe has a real good feel for what his players can do, and probably more than any other coach that we play against, I think he maximizes the production that he gets from his best players, year in and year out. You know. So even if he only has one, he knows how to get the most out of that one to win. If he's got 2 or 3, you know, they're a really difficult matchup for everybody. I you know, I can't imagine anybody would be able to do a similar job that he's doing here.
Coach, you talked about earlier, I asked you before, you placed a big premium on body language. Talk about the body language now and talk about the maturation of Ice Brady.
She drives me crazy. She has the ability to do what any good basketball player, forget like whether you're a post player, guard, whatever. She has the ability to make a right pass when she has to make a right pass, make an outside shot. Scoring in the lane is not something that she's really comfortable with, but getting better at it. She's a really good defender. She understands the game pretty well. And, you know, I think you used the right word. Coming here, she's not a very mature player yet. And sometimes kids are mature players as physically mature and their game is mature, but the rest of them is not very mature. And sometimes they're very mature up here, but they have no game. So once she learns, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, don't be afraid of them, don't bitch and moan with Coach Auriemma when he points them out to you. Just keep learning and keep getting better, and you'll see more nights like this. That's it.
Geno, you guys have had to sort of reinvent yourselves a couple times this year because of injuries.
Yeah.
Latest one, obviously, losing Aubrey doesn't help you guys in that standpoint. But
Yeah.
are you sort of used to, okay, and it may take a week for us to get something new in there and people adapting? Is it, I guess, the 1+ you go through is enough that the kids become numb to it in a sense?
Yeah, I said this recently. They probably have dealt with the last couple of years way better than I have, especially the senior class. Like the freshman class, like they don't know any better. You know, they're just like, yeah, you know, this is what I thought it would be. But the older guys, you know, and maybe it's a COVID thing, you know, because it all started happening right during COVID, right? Like we didn't have any of this stuff before that, you know. So they're used to it. They are pretty good at adjusting to whatever it is that we have, you know. Now, there comes a limit to how much you can adjust. What that limit is, I don't know. We're not quite there yet, but it took us a long time. It took us all of November, you know, where we came is during Thanksgiving, right? And that was some of the worst basketball we played all year. So it's taken us a long time to get used to not having so-and-so. And then we're kind of getting used to it, then we don't have so-and-so. But we reached a point, I think, right before the Creighton game, that when Aubrey went down, there really wasn't much other than now all of a sudden we're down, and so our rotation stinks, and my options are lousier than they were. And the one thing that we really were deficient in was we need rebounders and we need guys that and we just lost one of them. So losing Aubrey was a real kick in the gut. But we're a pretty resilient group. And they've got tremendous chemistry right now among themselves. Each individual, I think, has committed themselves differently. I said to somebody earlier out there, we spent all November trying to find out who I am. And we spent all of December trying to figure out who do we need to be. We. And it's really changed the entire, you know, trajectory of our team.
Go to Emily and then Ian.
Paige has had 2 of her most productive rebounding games the last 2. I mean, just how important was she in replacing that production from Aubrey there?
Yeah. She's, first of all, I don't know what she said up here, but, you know, don't believe half the stuff she says because none of it makes any sense. And we had a long talk at halftime about how defensively she has to do even more than she's doing to, you know, if you're a senior and you know as much basketball as she does because she's really bright, you've got to see things happening and you've got to react to them a little bit better than you have, because those things can prevent one of our guys from getting, like there were 2 or 3 plays in the first half where had she made a different decision, we may not have committed a foul that we committed, or they may not have gotten something that they got. So I nitpick with her about little things, but when you tell her, we just got out rebounded 2 games in a row, then I think she takes it personally, like, oh, all right, I'm gonna fix this. And you know, she's a winner. She knows how to win games. And I think when she starts out a game being pretty aggressive and stays aggressive, I mean, I don't know how many minutes she played today. 24 minutes. You know, that's pretty good. We had 28 assists. That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of assists. Which that would have never happened a month ago. Could have never happened a month ago. Not even close. And she's, you know, I guess the best thing I can tell you is we now are playing with her as opposed to enjoying watching her play like we did in November. I didn't enjoy watching her play in November, I'll tell you that right now. I think she got 30 and we got her ass beat. I said, what's the point? We could have done the same thing if you'd have got 2.
Ian.
You were able to get Ice and Aaliyah more time together on
Yeah.
the court tonight. How do you think they played together? And the team?
Yeah, I think that's something that we got to take advantage of more and more as we go along. Sometimes, and it's a tough decision that Joe had today. He wants to play 2 big guys, but when we only have 1, that's a bad situation for them. So then there are times when I want to play 2 big guys, and I'll look out there, whether it's tonight or Providence, and I'll see somebody that we can't guard that person with 2 bigs. So it's always a chess match trying to figure out when can I, when can't. But if we're playing well and things are flowing pretty well, then we could take a chance and say, look, even if it doesn't fit what the game needs, we need to have these 2 guys out on the floor together because they need the time out there together. And every time we put them out there, they get better and better and better. And I thought they had some really great moments today, the 2 of them combined together. So it'll get better. It'll get better. And they have to stay out of foul trouble. That's the biggest thing. If one of them's in foul trouble, we can't play both of them together because then I can't afford to, not have one ready in case something happens to the other one, foul-wise. So it's going to get better. It's going to keep getting better. I believe that.
I want to touch a little bit more about something you said earlier. You mentioned how, it used to be every 4 years you'd start over, now it's every 6 months or whatever. How has that changed for you, what it means to be a coach in this environment, what it means for maintaining your relationships with players, with staff, everything?
I'm somewhat fortunate, where I am. There aren't a whole lot of high level players coming to play at Connecticut going, I'm leaving for a better opportunity. All right, so I'm kind of fortunate in that regard. We have pretty strong relationships with our best players. They didn't come here for the money, they didn't come here for the other stuff. So not only do they make more money than the average bear, but they understand they can't. So the average coach out there though, who's not where I am, you can't do your job anymore. And people can say you got to change with the times. How does changing with the times help you have better relationships with your players when it's all transactional now? So what kind of relationship can you have with somebody that is telling you, I might be here 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, or I might be at 4 schools in 4 years? And it has nothing to do with the money. Forget the money part. This is about the ability that you can just walk out anytime you want. So how do you coach in an environment where the players feel like they owe you nothing and you owe them everything? What kind of relationship can you have? That's the reason why most of us got into this job. We enjoyed the relationship that we would build with our players for 4 years. Well, now you have kids that are in 4 schools in 4 years. What relationship have they built with their coaching staff or with their teammates? And then, where do they say they graduated from? I've never understood that one. So it's a whole different world that coaches have had to adapt to, but it's not sustainable, obviously. And, Joe's making it work. I mean, hell, he's making it work better than a lot of people are making it work, but it's unfortunate because at a school like St. John's, maybe in women's basketball, or some of the teams in our league, you got a player that's really, 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 really good that you coached the hell out of and you just made them like who they are. Like happened to Seton Hall last year. And that kid goes, yeah, well, I think I can make more money somewhere else. Okay? Well, you wouldn't have been this good if it wasn't for your coaching staff that you have right now. So again, it becomes just a transaction. And I don't think any coach that got into it that's anywhere around my age completely buys into all that. Now the younger coaches, they've never had it the way I've had it. So for them, maybe it's easier. But no, it's really, really hard. It's really hard. It's really, really